Good afternoon, everyone. It's been an amazing e-commerce growth summit. We've had some awesome speakers, experts in their field, diving into all areas of e-commerce. And today we have the privilege of hearing Ben Foden, the regional manager for North America at Helpfeel.
Helpfeel. Yep.
It's a company at the forefront of search optimization. I am your host, Steven Tejamulia, Chief Editor at the Growth Publisher. Ben, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. This really is a good session to end it as we talk about, we've just finished talking about luxury goods and the importance of being able to provide a personalized experience, helping them support past purchase, post purchase, and so this is going to round it out great. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Um, Give us a little detail of how you came to end up at Helpfield today. What was your path to becoming a search expert? Would love to hear that before we jump into questions.
Yeah, so it's a long story. I started 15 years ago as an intern in college, and Helpfeel was at that time called Nota, which is a different name for the company. But our search product, Helpfeel, really was growing so rapidly, and it became our main focus. We decided to rename the company to Helpfeel. Um, and over the years, I did a lot of different things. I worked in marketing. I worked most recently doing front end development for our for growth focus on our screenshot sharing tool. And throughout, I was always kind of managing the English side of things. Company's originally Japanese, so the English side was my specialty, whether it's marketing strategy or copywriting, all those kind of things. And we had English language customers for our search product, and I just started to do customer success. I started to do customer support for that product, and now I'm leading sales and customer outreach in the U.S. for it.
Well, thank you for being here. You for sure have been able to over the years develop a great understanding of this area. Diving into optimizing customer support with AI driven search, right? I want to talk a little bit about that because that's the future, that's where it's going. Can you explain how AI driven search technology can reduce the need for a man customer support?
Sure. Um, as a customer, when you're looking for support, you want to get your solution as fast as possible, right? You're busy. You know from experience that it's usually faster to search and find an answer yourself, and you don't want to talk to a human until you really need to. Um, and from the business point of view, it saves a ton of money when customers use self-service options to solve their own problems. Now, when it comes to AI, um, it really comes down to how reliable is your search and how fast is it, right? Customers are interested in self-service. Then they'll start at the search box on your help page, and their satisfaction and their success is determined by whether or not they find the answer that they're looking for. And AI today can help with that. So, with modern generative AI and modern search technology, dozens of keywords that you might not have imagined can be rapidly generated, and those can all be forwarded to a single answer page, right? So instead of having just one keyword in the title and one keyword that people can search to match for that, you could have 50 keywords, all different kinds of expressions that would be matched back to that same article. And the result is that instead of maybe four people finding the answer they're looking for out of every 10, you could have nine people out of 10 finding the answer they're looking for, or even 10 out of 10. And at Helpfeel, we've seen again and again that this dramatically drops the pressure on the support team and reduces the support budget required to service the same number of customers.
You have any example case studies where you've seen the implementing support technology as Helpfeel has been able to increase customer satisfaction rates and reduce search budgets? Give us some stories to make it more concrete for those listening.
Sure, yeah. So basically, um, Helpfeel has worked with hundreds of businesses across a range of industries, including e-commerce. We've got quite a few e-commerce customers. And Case by case, the level of impact does vary a little bit depending on the kind of products they're selling and the type of customers they have. The support function will always look a little bit different. But essentially, when your customers can search and solve their own problems in seconds instead of minutes or hours, you just exceeded their expectations, right? And that's very satisfying. I think we can all understand from our own experience just how nice it is when, oh, I found my answer, right? I don't have to wait on the phone. I don't have to hold, I don't have to wait to get an email back tomorrow. And the businesses that we work with have found that this boosts their CSAT scores, right? So customer satisfaction scores go up, and their self-service rate goes up as well, right? Which translates directly to cost savings in their support budget. I can talk a little bit more about a concrete example, and I'll get to an example using Lush Cosmetics a little bit later in the session here.
Okay, that'd be great. We look forward to hearing it. I know that AI has transformed the way I've purchased products. I know I've gone to Expedia. I use it frequently, and they have a little chat engine where you can start asking it to help plan your trip. I thought that was really futuristic, and I did engage with it for a little while. So for you, how does AI help in understanding and solving customer problems more efficiently? How have you seen that?
Yeah, so there's several ways that you can use AI in this context. And there's several ways that I recommend not using AI, right? So a lot of people know today that you can use a tool like ChatGPT. You can set up a chat experience, and you can answer questions that way. And the answer will be pretty specific. It'll be pretty well tailored to what the person asked. But when you're using it for customer support, or when you're using it for product recommendation, or you're using it for internal knowledge, it has to be set up on your content, right? So ChatGPT, a lot of these chat tools, they don't know the specifics of your business. They haven't read every page of content in your website. And so there's a risk that they make mistakes, they hallucinate answers, or you have a really difficult setup process that's really quite involved. And so there's a risk there, but if you set it up correctly, if you go through the effort and spend the money to set it up, if your content doesn't update very frequently, if it doesn't change, then AI has the ability to pinpoint quite specific answers, and that can be quite a big improvement in efficiency. And there's a few other ways that are less obvious, but maybe even more powerful that you can use AI. So you can analyze messages in bulk, right? You can analyze what people are searching for, or the contact messages that they're sending you. And AI is really good at spotting trends in that data and finding correlations that you might miss, and even experts miss sometimes. And there's another way, finally, that you can use AI, which is, as I mentioned before, you can use it to generate content, right? You can use it to generate keywords that will match for what people are searching, or you can use it to even draft the content of your help pages or of your product pages. And so overall efficiency is a product of your search and how efficient that is, but also how much content do you have that people can find, right? So keeping that content accessible and up to date is super time consuming, and this is where AI can be a big boost to efficiency.
No, thanks for explaining that. Can you share any examples or success stories where AI-driven search significantly improved customer support?
Yeah, exactly. So one of our customers is a company called ProGate, and they actually provide an online platform for learning to code. So it's not e-commerce, but they found that by using AI, they can actually write lots and lots of articles on their website to help their students, and they get that done in a really short amount of time. So, once the draft is created, their staff will review it, add some more color, brush it up, etc. And this allows them to respond to their students without requiring a one-to-one human interaction. So they were able to get a lot more done without hiring staff specifically responsible for writing this content, because AI did a lot of the legwork for them.
No, that's a great use case. Now, from that example and maybe other ones, what challenges did you face in implementing AI-driven search, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge is actually helping people understand what really works. Despite a lot of noise around AI in the marketing, right? Every tool out there is shouting about, we have AI this, we have AI that. But in a lot of cases, it's more hype than substance, right? So a lot of people are excited about ChatGPT and they like the idea of an AI chatbot, for example, because they imagine it can replace a human, right? Or replace a human interaction. And I mentioned it before, but when customers want to talk to a human, giving them what they want is actually the best thing for your business. And on the other hand, when a customer wants to solve a problem by themselves, a search experience is actually faster and better. So the awareness around this is actually one of the biggest issues today because everybody's so caught up in AI marketing hype and this chat idea of how you can use AI.
No, thanks for sharing that. Now, as customers come to engage with you, and they may ask, Ben, I have a search engine. I'm not getting the customer satisfaction rates I want out of this. It's not getting me the content I want out of it. What is your process to engage with that customer? And does your product do AI right now? Walk through, someone who's interested to talk to you right now. Tell us a little bit more about what service you provide. How does the engagement work? How can you get them to get their customer satisfaction rates higher? What's your technology do? And does it incorporate AI? And can you give us a little bit of that detail for those people wanting to engage with you now?
Yeah, so essentially it starts from understanding your business. And there's a few things that we look for as soon as we engage with a customer, right? So we want to see what is your contact volume? How many support staff do you have? Or how many people do you have, that are trying to access and provide this information, right? On both sides of search, there's people coming in to look for information, and there's people creating that information and kind of managing it in your team, right? And once we understand that picture, then we can look at the data that you have as far as you're comfortable sharing with us, and we'll look at it and we'll use our expertise and our experience to say, here's an opportunity to improve efficiency. Here's something that you're not tracking that maybe you should be tracking. And we can kind of paint a picture of the optimization that's available to them. And we can recommend things without introducing any tool, but obviously by using our own tools, there's a lot more that's possible. And the AI component really comes in when we come on board and we start to increase the reliability of the search. So I mentioned again that you can use AI to generate more keywords. So that's one thing that we look at right in the beginning is, what are people searching for and what are they finding, right? So if people are typing in, keywords into your search box and they're not finding articles, well, obviously there's kind of two reasons why that could happen. One would be that you just don't have a match for that keyword, but the page exists, right? And another one would be that the page doesn't even exist, right? You're just searching for something you don't have an answer for. And we use AI to solve both those problems. And then it's not only AI, but that's the starting point for efficiency. We also have technical writers that will come in. We have customer success managers that will work with you. They'll understand your needs and they'll really polish all of that content and all those matching keywords so that you can have, a super reliable search.
Thanks for explaining that. And as those listening to Ben right now, his company knows what they're doing and is key to helping you implement a lot of these new AI strategies that you're looking at. We're going to dive into personalization a little bit because it follows right on top of AI, where you're trying to personalize this experience. How do search analytics contribute to personalizing marketing efforts in e-commerce?
Yeah, absolutely. The personalization aspect is huge, right? Every customer wants to feel like, the business is only focused on them, right? You want to feel understood as a customer. You want to feel a connection with the business, and personalization is a big part of that. And that starts from understanding the data about the customer and understanding exactly what they're looking for when they communicate with you, when they contact you, when they search. You have to understand their intent. And the keywords and the topics that people are searching for can be analyzed and can be used to spot trends, and that can be used to update your content and also update your search results so that it's specific to what people are interested in. Kind of seeing between the words, seeing between the lines, and knowing that, okay, this is what they actually want. Like for one example, if you want to personalize your marketing based on search, you can use the keywords that people are typing in. If you have a tool, like the ones we provide, you can search. You can see those keywords that people are searching for in real time, and then you could say, hey, here's a nice turn of phrase. Here's a nice piece of wording that they're using. This is the customer's own voice, but we can use that in our advertising, in our promotions, on our landing pages. And that's like rocket fuel for marketing because it sounds natural. It's the consumer's own voice. Another great way you can use it is identifying keywords where you have products that solve the specific thing that they're searching for, right? So obviously, if you're using it as a product search, then you can kind of identify the keywords that lead to specific products. But even if you're using it for support, if you have a help center and people are searching for information, you can identify keywords where there's a product that solves the problem the customer has. So you can turn a negative support, basically I have a problem, you can turn that experience into a positive one for the business and the customer.
And as marketing is getting started to understand search, get feedback to build better content, what kind of tools or technologies that Helpfeel provide to tailor product suggestions or behaviors to make it easier for marketing to personalize content?
Exactly, yeah. So there's a lot of different things out there. There's a lot of different ways to tailor product suggestions. One way is to do a kind of a really detailed profile of each customer, and there's companies out there that are doing this today, right? Where they have the whole product history of that customer. They know what they've shopped for. They might even pull in demographic data, tracking data from other marketing partners, and they use that to tailor the product suggestions. The way we do it is based on a combination of our own patented search algorithms, industry standard search algorithms, as well as the generative AI approach I mentioned before, our own expert technical writing, and our team's analysis of the search usage. So all those things come in together, and that defines the predictions that people see, the results that people see when they're searching in the search box. So it's not only, Ted is interested in this, Bob is interested in that, but it's actually customizing the search prediction, the search result, to respond to the keywords that person has used. Because we've covered the whole range of keywords that people are searching for, and when they type in the search box, for example, if you type in men's rain jackets, let's say you're selling apparel, customer searches for men's rain jackets, we can return your category page, which is actually called men's outerwear, and a short list of product pages for various men's rain jackets and waterproof jackets and coats. So we know when they say rain jacket, they really are interested in a whole range of products. They're basically going to keep the water off you when you go outside, right? And you combine that ability to understand the intent with the deep customization, and then you have a dramatically better search experience.
And do you have any examples that you could share with us of how companies that use personalized marketing impacted the sales and the customer experience in a positive way for them?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have a specific example about how personalized marketing impacted the sales, but our clients are raving about the results they've gotten. So in one example, using personalization of search results, we have an e-commerce customer that reduced the number of contact requests across their customer lifecycle by as much as 66 to 94% in 1 month after using Helpfeel. So that's a transformation in the amount of people that had to contact them to get answers, compared to being able to find those answers themselves. And you can imagine what this would do for product search, where obviously people don't want to, get on the phone or send you an email to get product recommendations.
And if you could walk us through a little bit on that customer, right? What was like? How did they do that? What was it that they were like before, and by implementing what you did, what got them to those results?
Yeah, so I'll say again that I think search is a great experience. Everybody loves using search. And the problem is that it's just not as reliable as it should be. So for this customer, we found that their search was really subpar, right? A lot of the things that people were looking for, a lot of the keywords people were typing in were not turning up results. And so specifically when you have customers coming in that are new customers, when you have customers that are experiencing new problems, if they don't search using the exact keyword, then they couldn't find anything, right? So this was a big improvement for this business by being able to respond to all of the things, nearly all of the things that people are searching for. Their self-service just skyrocketed.
No, that's great. Now, what advice would you give marketers as people are implementing search to improve the customer experience, reduce the time it takes for customers to find answers? If you were in a room with a marketer who says, like, hey, what benefit am I going to get from this enhanced experience? What would you tell them?
Yeah, so from the marketing side, I think that it's essential to understand what do your numbers really mean, right? And I'm not questioning the experience of anybody out there doing marketing. There's a lot of experts out there that really know their stuff. But one thing that I think is a common misunderstanding is that the metrics you're tracking are a proxy for reality. And you have to understand the reality of your customers, understanding what their real intent is, what do they really want, what do they really care about. And if you only look at numbers, if you inherited those metrics, it's really hard to understand the reality on the ground, right? So when you look, for example, at search analytics and you look at keywords that are being searched, does your tool allow you to see things that are being searched for the first time, right? A keyword that's never been typed in your search box before. Can your tool identify keywords that are trending this month compared to last month? Can you see keywords where people are making a purchase based on that keyword, or are they not viewing a product page and not making a purchase based on the keyword they typed in? And if you read between the lines and you look deeply at the reality of, does your search lead people to your purchasing, then you can make more informed decisions about allocating your marketing effort.
Yeah, that sounds very valuable, especially when 80% of clients are doing research before talking to a sales rep, or in the case of e-commerce, probably 100%. So search gives you a lot of insight that should be plugged into your analytics.
Absolutely.
Jumping into sales, Ben, how does efficient information access via search technology boost sales productivity?
Yeah, so sales productivity, in my experience, it depends in large part on the level of training, the level of expertise of your sales staff, right? Do your staff know your products? Do they know your niche inside and out? So everybody they talk to, they feel, wow, this person is an expert, right? It's the job of a salesperson not just to sell what they've got in their hand, but to consult with the customer, to educate the customer, and to provide their expertise as one of the main pieces of value that they can give to the customer, right? That's where it all starts. And so whether you're onboarding new sales staff, you're helping existing staff keep up to date, better search technology, better access to information will ultimately allow your staff to learn from the knowledge of your entire company over its history, right? Instead of requiring one-on-one meetings, sometimes it can be one-sided when you're just explaining something. It can be really boring and inefficient. But if you have a search tool that allows people to find what they need by themselves, and you have a culture of writing things down, then now you have access to all the knowledge of your company. And this is critical because it's not only a sales manual, but it's the notes from a meeting. It's the understanding of staff that have left the company. And so there's a whole bunch of ways where access to information can boost sales productivity through training.
If you had to, inform us on what strategies have you found most effective for enabling sales teams to access information quickly, can you share some of those?
Yeah, so there's the one thing that I think that is just so important, and it's very simple. It's just write everything down. Write everything down. Write everything down. You have to create a culture of documenting the know-how that you have in your team. If you don't have it written down, people can't find it. It gets lost, right? Of course, you have to have an effective search tool so people can find the information reliably, but that starts with having a page somewhere with the information on it. And that could be a meeting note, the notes of what happened in your meetings, a guidebook for your employees, documenting your processes, customer cases, random thoughts, funny things that happened, whatever it is. If you make it so that your company feels comfortable writing everything down, then all the knowledge that's in your team's head, in the head of all your team members, that will all be accessible to everybody else through search and through linking different documents together. So it sounds really simple, but write everything down.
And I'm sure with that principle in mind and with the use of AI and what you've explained, you could probably create a lot of more content that people are searching or need to search to get those answers.
Absolutely.
And then with regards to new sales staff, can you talk about the role search has in improving their training and onboarding?
Yeah, so I touched on it before, and essentially it allows them to find the answers that they need without talking to anybody else, without taking anybody else's time up. So assuming that your team's know-how and experiences are well documented and written down, then if you have an effective search tool, new staff can explore and learn on their own time, and then ultimately they get up to speed a lot faster.
Do you have any case studies or observed how sales teams, customer support teams have become more effective because of better access to information?
Yeah, so it's been a while, honestly, since I worked in a team that didn't have a culture of writing everything down. So it's a little hard to say about the difference, honestly. I'm a bit spoiled at Helpfeel by our access to information. Our internal knowledge base has almost 75,000 pages, and that's accumulated over years. But with a combination of internal links and a rock-solid search experience, it's always easy to find what I want to know. So I think our sales team's performance is really turbocharged by that access to information.
I mean, that sounds fantastic. How do you ensure that the search stays relevant and up to date? What's processes do you guys use internally to do that?
Yeah, so this is a critical problem, and a lot of people will take different approaches to mitigate this issue, right? Articles get stale, content gets out of date, and you could set reminders. There's different tools that allow you to say, hey, this article is, hasn't been updated in this much time. Do you want to check it out again? Do you want to brush it up? I think those things are kind of like a Band-Aid that doesn't really address the root of the problem. I think the real problem is that your tool needs to be easy to use, and you have to have the process in place of writing things down again. So if your tool is really easy to use, then people will be more likely to write things down and more likely to update the content that you already have. And the search, if you're using a modern search tool, it should index those updates and make them available automatically.
That was very informative. Thank you for sharing that. FAQs, we're getting down a little more technical, a little more detail here. How does FAQ search optimization enhance internal operations?
Yeah, so optimizing your search, again, it's all about access to information. And I've talked about this a few times already today, but basically, if your search is reliable, then people will have more access to information. And you combine that with a culture of writing things down, and suddenly your team efficiency just goes through the roof. You don't have to have as many meetings. You don't have to send as many messages. You don't have to interrupt people just to say, hey, Bob, how does this work? People can go and search and find their own answers. And you can get a lot more context as well, because you can see like, oh, we talked to this customer. They said this. Our conclusion was that. You can get resources in there beyond just a simple verbal answer.
So if you look at best practices from what you said to optimize your FAQ, what processes do you recommend that companies put in place to convert common questions that they see in search into accessible FAQs or content?
Yeah, so essentially what we do at Helpfeel is we identify keywords where there are no relevant pages available, and where there's a relevant page that's out of date, or maybe it doesn't have a sufficient answer, right? So there's metrics that you can look at. Obviously, if people search for something and then they don't look at a page, or they search again immediately, you can say they didn't find what they were looking for, right? Or if they search and land on a page and then immediately leave and search for something else, you can pretty much safely assume that they didn't find the answer that they were looking for. And in both of those cases, you can identify, is it the page that's out of date or insufficient, or is it a page that needs to be added? Another thing that's kind of unique that we do at Helpfeel is we can start from the messages in a contact form or in a search box, and then we can use generative AI to immediately create a draft article based on that message coming in, and we can kind of kickstart that process of creating the pages that are required.
No, that makes things a lot easier and faster to do. And what kind of team do you put in place? Because not everybody has a team that's always looking at search and optimizing it. Do they outsource? Do they have to hire someone? How do they set something in place to be able to constantly do this? Because it's a problem that never goes away. It's ongoing as you're launching new products, you're making updates. Talk to us a little bit about the team structure that you recommend.
Yeah, so normally in a business, there's somebody who has this responsibility, but it's not their main focus, right? So you might have a person in the IT department, or you might have a person on the content side. And they kind of get pushed into doing the search improvement, or it might even be more distributed, right? Whatever the manager is in the different departments, they might have a way to improve the search or look at the results and say, hey, we're having trouble onboarding new sales staff. We have to update our onboarding documents and make them easier to find or something. So sometimes it's kind of bottoms up. And sometimes there's people that are already, kind of, this is one of their job responsibilities. But we find that it really helps to have somebody who's an expert. If you have a search box that people type in and it's reliable 60% of the time, that's really, it's kind of like walking through a minefield, right? It's not a good experience if, 3 out of every 5 searches are to returning a result, and the other 2, you're like, well, I guess I'm going to give up. So having an expert that does this full time, that's one of the services we provide. So if we have a customer that signs up with us, our team has the experience from looking at a whole range of businesses, seeing what works, knowing how to analyze the data, and we deliver the optimization for you. We're all familiar with Google search, and there's a whole industry of search engine optimization consultants, and there's a whole library of knowledge out there about how to do that. But a lot of people are just not that familiar with how it works internally.
And how often are these consultants or your team reviewing the search results to ensure that everything stays up to date?
Yeah, so for our customers, we check on those results between daily and weekly, depending on the customer and the type of the contract. And then we can proactively, we can do a Slack chat, we can do a team chat, we can send obviously email, and normally we'll do a monthly review meeting And that's about the frequency that people want to get these updates. Sometimes we identify something that's a critical issue, and we proactively will update the search index, update the keywords. But generally, we like to report what we found, make recommendations in that monthly meeting, and then we get the feedback from the customer and go from there.
And in the monthly meeting, we talked about AI and content generation, but I imagine what AI has done is when you have all of these search terms that end up in pages that don't exist or that they need to exist. You propose this is all the content that needs to be created. How does that work? Because I imagine it could be a lot of content. What have you seen on? How do you propose that to the client? How do you keep them knowing what they should create and how much of it should be created?
Yeah, so it depends on where the customer is starting from, right? So if your business already has a lot of help content, then we're more focused on brushing it up, expanding it, keeping it up to date. And we identify, okay, people are searching for this keyword. You don't have any article that seems to be relevant to this. By this point, our team is familiar with all of your content and your business, so we can identify, hey, this is a lack that you have. You should add this page, right? And so it's a pretty natural evolution from understanding the customer, understanding the end user, and then being able to say, hey, here's a place where your content's insufficient.
Very good. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to jump in a little bit about innovation, search technology. What are the latest advancements in search technology that Helpfeel is leveraging?
Yeah, so search is new again. Google search came out about 25 years ago, and there's a lot of businesses out there that have created search tools that are basically Google clones, right? So you search in the search box, you type something in, you press enter, you wait for the next page to load, and then you get a list of blue links, essentially. And, of course, Google has updated over the years, but the core of search technology is really trying to achieve two things, right? It's reliability and speed. And so when you start typing in Google today, if you go to actually google.com, or if you're searching from their various homepages that they provide, you'll see that it starts to predict what you're searching for as soon as you start typing, right? And there's a whole bunch of algorithms that go into that. And Helpfeel takes that approach to the next level, right? So we basically use some of the common or kind of industry standard search algorithms. Like it's called fuzzy matching, which allows you to handle typos or the plural form of different words, or misspellings, right? When it's close, but it's not quite the same as the keyword. But we can say that this is generally going to be this keyword, right? Another one that allows those really fast predictions is called incremental search. So for every letter that you type, the prediction updates, right? Every key that you press, it's updating. It doesn't wait for you to press enter and then go and check. And one of the things we're doing that's really unique is that all of the search predictions, all of that index is actually loaded when the page loads. So the result is that as you type in the search box, the predictions come back instantly. Even if you're on a mobile phone or a slow connection, you start typing a letter and you're getting results specific to your business and to that end user.
That's great. And walk us through a little bit about how is the development process of these technologies at Helpfeel? What to maintain this, to keep the innovation. What kind of team supports the innovation of search in the background?
Yeah, so I can't explain too much of the technical details here today, but I want to highlight a few things. There's some really smart people working in this field. And obviously, like I mentioned, there's Google, there's some really large companies in this space, but we have our own group of geniuses at Helpfeel. And the first among them is our technical fellow, is a man named Masui. And Professor Masui actually created the original prototype of Helpfeel Search by himself. This guy is constantly inventing and experimenting. And he actually worked at Apple in California. and he invented a new input system for Japanese language, which is used today in nearly all Japanese people using a smartphone. I mean, every smartphone in Japan today is using the input system that he developed. And that was kind of a spark for the way that Helpfeel search works. So it's more like using the keyboard on your phone compared to a traditional search experience where you have to kind of type in, press enter, and then wait, right? And our process, it starts with people like Masui who have some spark of insight. They have some curiosity about what's possible, and they want to push the boundaries. So, this is our process. We start from our own experience and our own interest, and we set out to build something new from scratch, right? We didn't just make a clone of Google search for business, but we started from the beginning and made a comprehensive approach that's tailor-made.
No, thanks for sharing that. I know we're coming close to time here, but I know you talked about a case study early on that you want to bring up to get everybody more understanding of the power of search and helping businesses out. Would you mind sharing that with us now?
Sure. Yeah, so one of our customers at Helpfeel is Lush Cosmetics. And Lush has retail stores around the world, and they also have an e-commerce site. Essentially for Lush, what we were able to do is we were able to replace their existing search for their help center. And the result was massive for them, right? So they had thousands of inquiries coming in to their support team, and they had a limited number of support staff. And any e-commerce business operator will understand that there's seasonal fluctuation, right? You're going to have a peak in activity for a lot of businesses around the end of the year, around the holiday gift giving season. And the ability to respond to that peak in activity is very different from, a regular time. So they didn't want to increase their staffing, but they did want to respond and give their customers a great experience. So Helpfeel was able to actually reduce the amount of contact messages coming into their support team while the number of customers actually increased, right? So an efficiency improvement despite growing faster. And the amount of contacts that were coming from their help center, it was reduced from 24% to 19% in the first month. And after 4 months, it went down another 5%. So from 24% down to 14%. And that 10% difference, that means that for every 10 support staff, they don't need to hire that 11th person, or for every 9, they don't need to hire the 10th. And as their business scales, that percentage will just increase in impact, right? And that's not all, right? So they improve the efficiency of their customer experience, the self-service experience, but they also were able to direct people to better articles, which connected them with product options. And they actually saw that their sales of gift wrapping increased 120% after introducing Helpfeel.
Wow.
Because people were able to find more specific articles that were better focused on what they were looking for.
No, thanks for sharing, and I'm sure you have a lot more case studies to go and to review with us today. If there was any, and I'm sure you have tons of advice or last thoughts that you want to share with the audience before we end, what would it be? Yeah,
I think aim high. I think a lot of people, they just are not aware of what's possible with search. We talk to customers that accept a 60% search reliability rate, right? 60% of the things people are typing in, they're getting answers. That's pretty good. We can make it a little bit better if we try hard. We don't need to do something else. This is the best we can get. And that's just nonsense, right? You could get a 98% hit rate. That's real. That's possible. And so I would encourage people to aim high, dig in, and evaluate the tools that you're looking at and make a decision and say, look, we can do better than this. Or, we are pretty happy with our results today. Search is new again. I mentioned it before. It's been around for 25 years. The Google search experience that we all know and love. But that same search box can deliver really, really much, much more reliability than maybe you imagine.
Ben, it's been a pleasure having you. As as brands and as companies, e-commerce companies are looking at this, I think you're expert in the field to help them. You've laid out some amazing tips of how they can evaluate the results they're getting with search right now and improve them with AI, content generation, improve the customer experience, lower the cost of support, in order to also expand their growth without having to pay a lot more for support reps. Um, this was amazing. I thank you so much for your time, for the insights shared. It was very valuable for our audience today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And for those listening, this concludes the e-commerce growth summit. We're very appreciative for you listening. For those that will be listening for this, we've had some experts speak to us today, and we thank you for your time. And then Ben, if you stay on, that'd be great. And we appreciate everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.